हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। आई होप आप लोग ठीक हैं। आई होप यू डूइंग वेल। चलिए एक बार हम देख लेते हैं कि हम लाइव हैं या नहीं और हमारा ऑडियो क्लियर है या नहीं। हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। आई होप आप लोग ठीक हैं। आई होप यू डूइंग वेल। चलिए एक बार हम देख लेते हैं कि हम लाइव। यस, सो अ वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू द क्लास गाइज। हमारा ऑडियो जो है वो बिल्कुल यहाँ पे सेटल हो चुका है। द ऑडियो इज एब्सोल्युटली फाइन। नाउ एज यू ऑल कैन सी, the topic of today's discussion is going to be travelers in India. So we have covered, for most part we have covered our syllabus of ancient India, but we still have a lot left to do, and there is one topic that we have to cover in particular, and that is the travelers or the foreign travelers who came to India. So let me give you a brief about whoever I am talking. So there are a lot of foreign travelers, and first of all I will be talking about today, I will be talking about Yuan Tsang. Fine. Then I will be talking about Fa Yen. Then we have some medieval era travelers. For example, we have Ibn Battuta. Then we have, after Ibn Battuta, we have Al-Biruni. We have Bernier. Okay. We also have Razak, Abdul Razak. Apart from this, we have a lot of Portuguese traveler. We have Barbosa. Okay, we have William Smith. So these are a lot of travelers that we have to cover. So I've just given you a few names. Now these are not just the names that we will cover. There are a lot of foreign travelers who came to India, who stayed in India under different rulers, and who worked in India and also contribute a lot to a source, a particular Indian source. Now the question that arises here is that why are we focusing on these foreign travelers so much? Why am I dedicating a separate section or a separate lesson or a separate lecture, and this lecture is going to take a lot of time for me to cover? Why are we dedicating so much of time to this? We are dedicating so much of time to this. There's one reason for that. Now foreign travelers act as a very good source of history for any historian. The reason why? Because they give us a third person perspective. They give us a third person account. Now their accounts are free from any biases, right? Because they don't owe anything to our country or to the king or anything as such. So their account is free from biases. And if they are mentioning something coming from outside of India, if they are mentioning something, we mostly consider it to be true. But again, we have to be careful also, because I will be giving you certain examples like Bernier, who tried their best to put India in a bad light by comparing India and Europe at a constant level, right? So that is why they are a very 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 important source of history for us. Fine. So chaliye, let's start with our discussion today. So today we will be focusing on Yuan Tsang. All right, that's our first foreign traveler. Now you have heard his name all throughout ancient India. Whenever I was talking about ancient India, if I talked about Buddhism, his name was there. When I talked about the Kushan Empire, his name was there. So whenever I talked about any particular aspect, his name has always been there. And hence, let's try to understand who Yuan Tsang was. Now here's a picture of Yuan Tsang, and now I'll be focusing on his early life a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, so I'll be underlining the important points. So I'll be using a different colored highlighter here. I hope this highlighter is visible. Let me see. Let me just check on the video once, guys, if the highlighter is visible or not. Okay, so I think it's quite nicely visible. Okay, so I'll be underlining a very few important points and I'll be telling you about it, which you have to remember. So first of all, I will be talking about the early life of Hyun Desang. So when was he born? He was born on the 6th of April in 602 AD. Okay, and he was born when? He was born in Chenhe village, Goishi town, and obviously this is in China. Alright. So when was he born? He was born on 6th April in 602 AD in Goishi town in China, and he was the youngest of the 4 children. So his father and mother had 4 children. He was the youngest of the 4 children. Now, his father was a very conservative Confucian. Now let us try to understand what does this word mean. What does this Confucian mean here? So Confucianism is like a tradition in China. Okay, it's a tradition in China. So what kind of tradition is Confucianism? So just like, you know, we have our Indian tradition, we have our Hindu traditions, just like that Confucianism is a tradition in China where a lot of focus was given to manual labor, right? A lot of focus was given to being independent, being self-reliant, not taking any help from the foreigners. All right, so his father was actually a very conservative Confucian, and I think the only negative part about Confucianism is the fact that it did not really want to focus on science as such. All right, the focus was more on literature and arts and other things like that. Fine. So that was a little, you know, you can say a little issue with it. But other than that, Confucianism worked quite well for the people of China. So his father was a conservative Confucian, means he wanted to follow Confucianism. Okay. Now, he was a magistrate of the Jingling County during the Sui dynasty. So what was Hyun Desang working as? He was working as a magistrate. Alright. Okay. I'm underlining the important points, just remember them. Under the Sui dynasty. Okay. But then, you know, he got really fed up of the political issues and the turmoil and always being in constant tension. So he decided that he is going to give up on his office, and he escaped. Alright. He escaped because he just wanted to give up on it, because it was a constant trouble for him. Who to side with? What if one dynasty ends and the other starts up? So like that. Okay. So along with his brothers and sisters, he received early education. He learned classical works on filial piety, several other canonical treatises on Orthodox Confucianism. Alright. So just because his father was a very hardcore, or you can say an Orthodox Confucianism, Hyun Desang early education was also on the basis of that. He would learn classical literature, he would learn everything, and all of that would be based on the principles of Confucianism. Okay, so what all have we learned? When was he born? 6th April 602 AD. And where was he born? He was born in the Goishu town in China. His father was a very hardcore Confucian, and he received that kind of education as well. He was working as a magistrate in the Sui dynasty, and then finally gave up the position because he could not handle the political pressure that was there. Fine. And then he also received the education that he had received was actually very, very much like Confucianism only. Okay. Alright, so let me know if you have any doubts here. The live chat is open, guys. If there's anything you did not understand, you can definitely ask me. In this particular slide, we have more to cover. Please let me know if there's anything that you did not understand. Okay, there seems to be no doubt. Let's move ahead. Okay. So the two brothers, you already know that Hyun Sang had four brothers and sisters, right? Together they were four brothers and sisters. So his brother, they reached the Chengdu Shi Wan. So what happened? So with the fall of the Sui dynasty, now they had fled away from there, all right, because the political pressure was too much to handle. Okay. And after going on from there, they lived in a monastery called Kong Hui. Okay, where were they living? They were living in a dynasty called Kong Hui, and it is here that he started studying about the Abhidharma Kosh Shastra. Fine. Now this was a verse on the treasury of Abhidharma, is the key text on Abhidharma written in Sanskrit by Vasubandhu in 4th or 5th century. Okay. So who wrote this book? This was written by Vasubandhu in 4th or 5th century. Okay. Now it is here that he actually had his first encounter with Buddhism. Okay. So this text was widely respected and used by the Buddhist schools of India, Tibet and in East Asia. Fine. So Hyun Sang requested to take Buddhist orders at the age of 13. So what happened? So after the fall of the Sui dynasty, he and his brother had fled, okay? And then they spent some time in a monastery. And that is where he first started reading about the Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, which was written by Vasubandhu. And it contains the doctrines of Buddhism, alright. Sorry, I'll just put my phone on silent. It basically contains the doctrine of Buddhism. That was really important, alright. So the text was widely read in India, Tibet and East Asia, because it contains the basic doctrines of Buddhism. Okay. So Hyun Sang got so attracted to the idea that he decided that he is going to do what? He is going to take Buddhist orders at the age of 13. Means he's going to start following Buddhism. I would not say convert, but I would say that he wanted to start following Buddhism. Okay. So his monastic name Zuan Zhang. So he took the monastic name what? This is very important. That is why I have highlighted it. मैंने इसको dark कर दिया है. So please आप लोग भी accordingly इसको याद कीजिएगा. So his monastic name was Zuan Zhang, and he became a fully ordained monk at the age of 20. So from 13 to 20, he worked towards becoming a monk. Fine. So he traveled a lot in China, trying to learn about Buddhism, particularly about Vijayanagar school of Buddhism. Fine. And it is here, after becoming a Buddhist monk, that he decided that he must go to India, because that is where Buddhism had actually started from. Okay. So what all have we studied about his life? I will just make a quick flow chart for you to have a clear understanding. Okay. When was he born? He was born 6th April 602. Okay. How many brothers and sisters? 4 siblings. Okay. What was he working as? He was working as a magistrate with Sui dynasty. Now, he could not handle the political pressure. It really became difficult for him, and hence he fled. All right. And after that, he came to the monastery of Kong Hui, and it is here that he studied Abhidharma Kosh Shastra. Okay. What did he study? Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, right? And after studying the Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, he was first attracted to Buddhism at the age of 13, he was attracted to Buddhism. At the age of 20, he became a monk, alright. And then after, he decided to travel to India, okay. What did he do? He wanted to travel to India. Okay, so that's all about his early life. Born on 6th April 602. He had 4 siblings. His father was a very conservative Confucian. He received a Confucian education. He worked as a magistrate in the Sui dynasty but could not handle the political pressure, and hence he, after the decline of the Sui dynasty, him and his brother fled to Konghui, which was a monastery, where he first had his encounter with Buddhism through a book called Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, written by Vasu Bandhu. Okay, and then at the age of 13, he decided that he is going to become a Buddhist monk. Fine. And after that, what did he do? He became a Buddhist monk at the age of 20, and that is when he decided that he must travel to India, because that was where Buddhism was actually born. Okay. Alright guys, let me know if you have any doubts till here, if there's anything that you might not have understood. कुछ भी ऐसा हो जो आपको नहीं समझ में आया, if there's anything that you have not understood. Now this is, on the right, so on the left hand side you have the written part. On the right hand side I have summarized all the important points which you must remember from your exam perspective. Okay, I will be doing that in the later parts of the lecture itself. Please let me know if you have any doubts still here. Is there anything that you might not have understood? Please let me know. The live chat is open, guys. You can always ask your doubts from there. All right, let's move on and see what happened when Yuan Tsang arrived in India. Okay, so guys, I've done a little experiment with the PPT today. I've used little different shapes and all. Some of the shapes actually work and some of the shapes don't really work. But so I think this is one of them. So I will not be using this again. This was just an experiment. But I'll make sure I don't use this this particular shape again. It'll be a different shape then. Okay, so let's talk about his visit to India. Now at the age of 20, he decided that he is going to visit India, right? He only reached India in 631 AD. Okay, so before that he traveled to various other places, like he traveled in Afghanistan, the Swat Valley. He was able to reach almost the Sindhu Ghati. He was able to reach this Indus River, and it was finally in 631 that he reached Kashmir. Okay, and it was here that he saw 100 monasteries and over 500 monks. This was his first encounter with Buddhism of India. Fine. So in between 632 and 633, he also attended the 4th Buddhist Council, right? This was under Harshvardhan. And he studied with the various monks who were there, which included 14 months with Vinita Prabha, 4 months with Chandravarman, and a winter and a half spring with Jaya Gupta. Okay, so what all has happened here? So he had reached Kashmir, and after that he had started participating. He wrote about the 4th Buddhist Council. He studied with various monks, okay, for almost 14 months, which included a lot of people. So we have Vinita Prabha, 4 months she taught him, Chandravarman, and then we have a winter and half a spring with Jaya Gupta. Fine. So after learning from these educated people, Yuan Tsang decided that he is going to visit to Lahore, Then he arrived at Matiputra, which is present day Mandawar. At Matiputra monastery, he studied under Mitra Sen. So now these teachers are very important. You must remember the teacher's name. Don't worry, I will be giving you a small flowchart again. Alright, so you must remember the teacher's name. So when he came to Chinnaut and Lahore, he stayed there and he studied from his teacher whose name was Mitra Sen. So he stayed there and he studied in Matiputra. He stayed and he studied for almost a year. He stayed there and he studied from Mitra Sen. Wait, let me change the pen color. Alright, now some places he visited in India included Jalandhar, Punjab, Kullu in Himachal Pradesh, Bairat, Mathura. So all of these times, Mathura at this time, even though it was being dominated by Hindus, it had around 2,000 monks of major Buddhist branches. Okay, 2,000 monks were still living in Mathura. All right. So what all had happened? Where did Hugh Desang land? He landed in Kashmir. And that's when he had his first encounter with Buddhism in India, where he saw 100 monasteries with over 5,000 monks in the area. He stayed there for almost 14 months, alright, and he also studied, or he wrote about the Buddhist Council, the fourth Buddhist Council. And his teachers included Vinita Prabha, Chandravarman, Jaya Gupta, and then it included Mitra Sen as well. And then he traveled to different parts of India. Okay? थोड़ा सा और कर लेते हैं, then we can maybe clear some doubts together. So then what happened after staying on down south, he then crossed the Yamuna river and he reached Kannauj. All right, and who is being ruled? Who is Kannauj being ruled by? Kannauj, if you remember, is the capital of King Harshvardhan, right? And here at the capital, he spotted that there were 100 monasteries with around 10,000 Buddhist monks, alright? And he was really impressed by King Harsha's patronage, which had been granted to Buddhism. And that's when he decided that he is going to spend some time here in early Buddhist writing or studying early Buddhist scriptures. Also, if you remember, what has he done? He is also, involved with King Harsh. He's written about his reign. He's written about the kind of king he was. So he's like a very important source for us to understand the Vardhan Empire. Okay, now, so during Harsha's reign, Huon Tsang visited Kashipur, Ayodhya, Kaushambi. Then he visited Saraswati, Terai in Nepal, and his last stop before reaching Lumbini was Kapila Vastu. So what is he doing? Since he's so interested in Buddhism, obviously he's reaching, or he's traveling to all important places that is important for Buddhism, or that is important from Buddhist point of view, right? So in 637, Huon Tsang reached from Lumbini and then he headed to Kushinagar. Fine, and he also visited the Champa monastery in Bhagalpur. Now this is his travel history, guys. Okay, so you might have to remember his travel history a little bit. Okay, don't worry, I will be giving you a small flowchart for you to have a clear understanding of this. All right, so what all have we done till now? Let's try to understand. I'll give you a brief here. So okay, first of all, what happened? He obviously came to Kashmir and he had his first encounter with the Buddhism in India. Alright, so there were around 100 monasteries and there were around 5,000 monks in the area. Okay. Then he also participated in the 4th Buddhist Council. Okay. Then he worked under certain teachers. Who were his teachers? Let's try to understand. We have Vinita Prabha. Then we have Jaya Gupta. Sorry. Then we have Jaya Gupta ma'am. Alright. Then we have Mitra Sen. Alright. And lastly we also have Chandravarman. These were the teachers who had taught him. Okay? And then he traveled to various other parts of India. Fine. Finally, finally he reached King Harsha's capital, and he was really impressed by the kind of patronage that was being provided to Buddhism. Fine. And then he traveled to a lot of places. He traveled to Kashipur, Ayodhya, Terai in Nepal, and then finally from before reaching Lumbini, which is the birthplace of Buddha, he visited he visited Kapila Vastu, and finally he visited for Lumbi, and finally he visited Kushinagar, where Buddha had attained enlightenment. Okay, so what was he trying to do? He was trying to visit all of the places which are important from Buddha's perspective, or which are important in Buddha's life. Okay, let me know if there's anything that you have not understood here. We will definitely take it up, guys. After this, we will be talking about his stint in Nalanda, what all were his contributions in Nalanda, what all did he did in Nalanda. Okay, so how can you divide his travels? If you want to divide his travels, divide it into these parts. First of all, we have Kashmir. Then we have his teachers. Then we have his stint with King Harsha. However he was there. After this, we will be talking about Nalanda. Alright. So this is how you can divide his life in India and his travels in India. Okay. Let me know if there's any doubt, if there's anything that you might not have understood. कुछ ऐसा जो आपको नहीं समझ आया हो, कुछ भी कोई डाउट हो, कोई भी डिफ़िकल्टी हो, आप ज़रूर बताइएगा. Okay. Alright guys, let's move on to the next part, and now we will be focusing on how his life was in the Nalanda University. Okay, how his life was in the Nalanda University, what all did he do here. Let's try to understand, let's try to focus on that now. Alright, so he spent about 5 years in Nalanda University, and in these 5 years guys, he was not just a student. After becoming a student, he also became a professor in Nalanda University. He was actually teaching the students there. Okay, so what all did he studied here? He studied logic. Okay, he studied grammar, Sanskrit. Alright, Yogkar, which is a school of Buddhism. So these are the subjects which he had studied: logic, grammar, Sanskrit, and Yogkar. Fine. Now it was here that he met Venerable, someone who is worth worshipping, and his name was Shil Bhadra. Fine, Shil Bhadra. He was an expert of the Yogacara school of Buddhism, and then he became a personal teacher of Huan Tsang. Okay? So while he was studying Buddhism in the Nalanda University in India, he discovered 10 commentaries on Vasu Bandhu. So remember, Vasu Bandhu had written Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, and that was his first experience about Buddhism, right? And hence what happened when he came upon those commentaries on Vasu Bandhu, fine, he then started to draw upon those commentaries, fine, ठीक है. उन्होंने क्या करना कोशिश किया? What did he start? He started working on those commentaries, especially the commentary of Dharmapal, and he wrote his own explanation, alright, own explanation of the Trimisika Vijana Parimatrata, which later became Cheng Weish Lun. Okay, so what all had he done? So when he reached Nalanda University, he stayed there for 5 years. Earlier he was a student, later on he became a teacher. What all did he study there? He studied logic, grammar, Sanskrit, Yogakar. Yogakar is one of the most important Buddhist, you can say it was like a Buddhist school of thought, fine, an important Buddhist school of thought. And this is where he came across Shil Bhadra, who was an expert in Yogacara teaching, and he was the teacher of Yun Tsang as well. Alright, so you can add one more teacher in the list, okay. And then here only he discovered there are commentaries on Vasu Bandhu. He decided that he is going to draw up on the commentaries, who is going to comment on the commentaries, especially that of Dharmpal, and later on this whole thing came to be known as Cheng Wei Shi Lun. Okay, so Cheng Wei Shi Lun, it basically means is the fruit of 7 centers of Indian Buddhist thought. Okay, what is it? The fruit of 7 centuries of Indian Buddhist thought. So he had compiled everything, whatever has happened in Buddhism in the last 7 centuries, and what was the end result of it. He had compiled it all for the people. Okay, so from Nalanda he then moved on to Bangladesh, alright, where he studied about both Hinayan and Mahayana, fine. And in different monasteries he saw different kinds of monks, different levels and different numbers of monks which would have been working there. Okay, let me know if you have any doubts or that you might not have understood anything. If you have, please let me know so that we can discuss on it. Okay, let me just draw up a brief for you. What all has he done in Nalanda? Okay, he stayed there for, sorry, पेन का 4 कलर चेंज करना भूल जाती हूँ. He stayed there for 5 years. Pehले he was a student and later on he became a teacher. Okay. He studied logic, grammar, Sanskrit and Yogakar. Yogakar is an important Buddhist school of thought. Now, this is where he met Shil Bhadra, who was an important Yogakar teacher. He also discovered commentaries on whom? He discovered commentaries on Vasu Bandhu's book, which is Abhidharma Kosh Shastra, and then he decided to write his own commentary, and that was known as Cheng Wei Shi Lun. From there, he went on to Bangladesh. Alright, okay, and he was really impressed with the amount of patronization or patronage that was given to Buddhism. Okay, so that's about his journey in Nalanda. Alright, let's move ahead and let's talk about after visiting Bangladesh, what did he do? So after that, he went to Andhra Pradesh and he started visiting sites like Amravati, again related to Buddhism, and Nagarjuna Konda. So when he was in Amravati, he started reading the Abhidhamma Pitak text. And then he travelled to Karachi, visited the imperial capital of Pallavas. Then he travelled to Nasik, Ajanta, Malwa, Multan, Pravanta. So you can see here that he has widely travelled in India. Okay? Then he was invited by the Assamese king Kumar Bhaskar Varman. Okay? And that's when Hyun Tsang got to see the ancient city of Prayag Jyotishpura, which is in Kamrup, which is now in Guwahati. And before he visited Kamrup, he also, tried to write about their culture. He tried to write about their culture, their people, and everything. Fine. So, on the request of King Harshvardhan, Hyun Tsang was escorted back to Kannauj to attend the Great Buddhist Assembly. The assembly was being attended by neighbors, kings, Buddhist monks, Brahmins, and Jains. So after traveling so much in India, he was finally back to where he started from. He was back to Kannauj. He was back to King Harshvardhan, because King Harshvardhan had invited him back. What did he do? He had invited him back because he wanted him back for this Buddhist, he wanted him back for this assembly or this council of Buddhism which was about to take place. Alright. So, after visiting Bangladesh, where did he go? After that, he went to Andhra Pradesh and he visited sites like Amravati and Nagarjuna Konda. And it is here that he discovered Abhidhamma Pitak, which contains all the philosophy of Buddhism. Fine. So he started reading about Abhidhamma Pitak. From there he travelled to Nasik, and then from there he went to the Assamese king Kumar Bhaskar Varman because he was invited by him. And finally, on the request of King Harshvardhan, he was then sent back to Kannauj because King Harshvardhan wanted him to attend a Buddhist council. Alright. So, what all has happened after his travel in Bangladesh? So, after Bangladesh, we have, I'll just write it down. After Bangladesh, we have okay. After Bangladesh, we have what? We have Andhra Pradesh. After that, we have what? After Andhra Pradesh, what do we have? After Andhra Pradesh, we have so he then started studying about Abhidhamma Pitak. Then he visited Nasik. Okay. Then he visited Assam. Basically, he went to the kingdom of Guwahati. So he was invited by northeast he had visited. Okay. Who invited him? It was King Bhaskar Varman who invited him. Okay. And then finally he went back to Kannauj because he was invited by whom? He was invited by King Harshvardhan to be back because he had to attend a Buddhist council. Okay. So please let me know if you have any doubts still here, guys. If there's anything that you have not understood, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you here. Alright, so with this we have come to the end of our lecture. What all have we done today? So we have done about Yuvan Tsang. We spoke about his early life, then we spoke about how he reached India, and that we divided into various parts. First of all, how he was in Kashmir, his teachers, and then about how then he visited King Harshvardhan, and after that, he traveled widely in the empire, fine, and then he traveled to all the Buddhist locations, and then we talked about how his stay was in Nalanda, his teacher, his commentaries that he had written on Abhidham, then he had written on Abhidham Shastra Kosh, fine. And then we also talked about his travels in Nalanda, in Andhra Pradesh, in Nasik, in the northeast, and then finally how he was back to Kannauj because the king had requested it. Okay. So that's it for today, guys. I know you must be wondering that we have so many travelers to cover and why so little less time. But don't worry, we will have to cover a lot of travelers and we will cover them one by one. Because everyone has a lot of information that you must know. आपको पता होना चाहिए इन लोगों के बारे में, ठीक है? So, chali, that's where I will end the session. I would request everyone to join the Telegram channel. So before you all leave, the link has been given in the description box. Why is it important to join the Telegram channel? Because this is where you will get updates regarding the classes. Whatever files we upload, you will also be getting notified about the notes which are in there. This is really going to be helpful for your exam preparation. Okay. Also guys, please like the video, share it with your friends, comment and let us know if there's anything you like. If there's anything you don't like, then also you can let us know. We will definitely want to work on it. And before you all leave, please do subscribe to the channel. Press the bell notification so that you get notified whenever we come online, so that your phone tells you that yes, your favorite teacher from Telugu Result Guru is online, and then you can definitely become a part of the session. So do subscribe to the channel, and it was an absolute pleasure to have all of you here, and thank you so much for watching the session, guys. I will now see you all in the next class. It was an absolute pleasure to have you all. So thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.